Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of the Team Venom Wrestling Podcast. We say 7, it's more like 447 at this point, but this is the episode 7 of the current run. I'm your host, Rory Bailey, joined by my co host and lifetime tag team partner, the Triple H to my Austin, the Triple H to my Shawn Michaels, the Diesel to my Shawn Michaels, Connor Franks. How's it going, man?
It's going good. What I'm hearing there is I'm eventually going to hit you with a hammer.
Yeah, and then we make up.
I love it when we make love. Yeah, happy to be back. We're talking about wrestling, so everyone knows that makes me happy.
Yep.
Um, Even now, we are talking about one of my favorite titles. I know that's the topic today, and I'm going to say
Yep.
which. I will say, Danny, my
Yep.
brother, former contributor,
Yep.
not didn't leave because he wanted to. He left because it was shit. Um,
Yeah, it's because we just haven't asked him to be on it, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the spawny cunt. I'm using that word.
I
I
know.
mean it. I mean, yeah. The spawny bastard was watching a replica United States title
Yeah.
on eBay, and the person just wanted rid of it. So they messaged him and went, "Oh, just give me 90 quid."
Oh, really hope
Yeah,
I really hope the listeners heard my sigh.
that's what prick, prick.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. If we ever get him on one of these again, he better be wearing that fucking title.
Oh, it's all right because last month, his birthday, his bloody fiance got him a official on WWE title, the one Cody Rhodes is currently wearing, replica.
Oh, I
Yeah,
mean,
how sad does that make? He showed me the picture of it. I went, "Oh, that's an amazing early Christmas present, bro. Thank you." And it didn't work,
that's upsetting.
but I know where he lives, so
It's just
keep
like,
an eye.
come on, man.
Just keep an eye on my backdrop, and you'll be able to tell the people when it appears.
That's true.
Yeah,
Uh, subject is our favorite US champions and who comes to mind when we think of the US title. Everyone's going to have a different answer, and we might have some that are similar because we do have very similar wrestling tastes in general.
yeah.
Um, but where this is stemmed from is the recent announcement and tournament that's been held for the WWE Women's United States Championship over on SmackDown,
The newly announced.
the newly announced battle. So, what's your opinion on the women's US title?
I am very happy. I've been saying for ages that if the women have to have not have to, they should have, but if the women are going to have a secondary title, it shouldn't be tag titles because there's no tag teams,
Yeah,
should be singles. Now, I will say, had I had my way, it would be an Intercontinental because I feel like that makes more sense. It's the
I think
oldest
that's going to
secondary
happen though.
title. I think it is going to happen. We're going to have divisions on each, which is fine because it means, the rosters are ever growing. There's people we want in the picture who can't get in the picture right now. For example, Chelsea Green. One day
Yeah,
I want her to be a world champion. I
yeah,
can't see her being in that picture anytime soon. Maybe like next year's Money in the Bank winner kind of thing. I could see that. But
yeah,
I think someone like Chelsea Green, Meechin,
yeah,
Tiffany Stratton could maybe have a run until she cashes in
yeah.
because that could be the catalyst on what makes her finally cash in on Nia. She loses the US title. She's so pissed she's not a champion anymore. You could have a backstage segment why, well, Nia basically mocks her or something,
Yeah.
and then boom, cashes in. Like there's so many things they could do. Hopefully they'd announce the Intercontinental because I would have thought they'd announced it a lot closer together because now it
Yeah,
kind of
I was
because
expecting it the following Raw
yeah
like almost
because
immediately.
like I know whatever kayfabe etc. But like Nick Aldis did the big presentation. And the whole
Yeah,
thing is that they are feuding general managers, brand supremacy, blah blah. So now it's just if Adam Pearce does it, it's now just going to look like,
yeah,
oh
like
well, you
Scott.
did it. I made
Yeah, yeah,
this. Like, but if it happens, wonderful. It should. I would have announced the Intercontinental title first.
yeah.
Maybe held an imaginary tournament in
It's
In Brazil for it.
it's
Um, but
that
yeah,
thing,
no,
isn't it?
I'm happy.
For
I
like,
think scrap the tag titles. I
yeah,
think scrap the tag titles because there isn't enough tag teams. There's what? There's Katana Chance and Kaden Carter,
yeah.
Damage Control, whatever
Kabuki
the shit.
Warriors, who were part of Damage Control
They're
as
part,
well.
yeah.
So yeah,
There's the weird MMA wannabe faction with Shayna Baszler in it. I can't remember what they're called.
Zoe Stark. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember what the team's called. It's called like
no.
PBC or something like that.
Then there's Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, which
Again, that's two singles thrown in until the Rumble because then you're
it's
gonna have one of them's gonna
yeah,
eliminate the other, and then they're gonna go to Mania, and we're
and
gonna get
that
big,
seems
big
like it's
beefy
more
girls
of a
beefing me, and
yeah,
yeah,
and it seems like it's more of a right. You're going to have a year
we
working with
we
Bianca to build
that's
you
it.
up, Jade, and like
I
yeah,
don't even think it's a case of build you up. I think it's like we need to keep you guys apart,
yeah,
like from fighting each other. And the only way to logically do that if they're on the same show is be in a team,
yeah, yeah,
be allies. I think everyone knows that's the payoff we're going to get for that, which I'm looking forward to. Big fan
yeah,
of Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair's her rise from NXT to being like the face of the women's division, like
yeah.
in terms of merch, charity
Winning the
work.
Rumble,
Yeah,
we're winning every women's title basically.
yeah, she's very much like she's on the women's side. She's doing the John Cena role, right?
Yeah,
Like
I could
she's
see her absolutely going after the women's US title as well when it's out, just so that
yeah,
it's
100%.
another accolade for her. And
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. And I think that's good. I think, like I said, there's a lot of people on the roster who I would love to see in the title picture, but just can't get in the world title picture right now. Um, I think who do you think should be the first US women's champion?
I at the time of recording, just for the benefit of listeners, at the time of recording, it's been announced, and I think the tournament's just started on SmackDown.
Bailey
Um,
just won
yeah,
a triple threat, which included Maxine Dupree for some reason, and Candice LeRae, possibly.
I
I
think so.
think
There we
I
go.
think
Full
that's it
bracket
was.
unveiled.
Oh, here we
So
go.
quick look, just because I can't remember it off the top of my head. Um, oh god damn it! Full bracket unveiled, but it's not there. Wonderful.
If I go on
But yeah, Bailey beat BFAB and Candice LeRae.
BFAB, that was
Yeah. Oh,
yes,
here we go. I've got the
beef.
image now. So you've got Bailey, Candice LeRae, BFAB. Then you've got Bianca Belair, Chelsea Green, and Blair Davenport. Naomi, Tiffany Stratton, Elektra Lopez, and then Jade Cargill, Meechin, and Piper Niven. And the finals are going to be at the revived Saturday night's main event, which I'm really
I'm
looking forward
so
to that.
excited for.
Yeah, I
Okay,
love that. I hope they have
okay,
the cheesy intros and everything for Saturday. Do you remember just before WrestleMania 22 when they brought back Saturday night's main event for the first time in like a decade? And
yeah,
they had the main event was the two main events of WrestleMania fighting each other. So you had Cena and Triple H versus
yeah.
Orton, Ray, and Angle. And they had that whole thing of like the cold opened with Triple H talking about what was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, John Cena's hand and chatting about it, and then going to the opponents. Man, Saturday night's main event was wild.
Have you
That
seen the
was.
reports that they're going to keep everything old school, even like the
I
entrance
really
point?
hope they do. Yeah,
So it's not going to have, it's going to be a full seated arena, seats
yeah.
behind the entrance. There's not going to be a Titantron.
Oh, brilliant.
Apparently, they're going like all out for the to give it the nostalgic retro feel. Based on that bracket,
Yeah,
I would love to see Chelsea Green
Chelsea.
and
Yeah, Chelsea for me.
Chelsea Green and Piper Niven final.
They're both on the opposite sides of the brackets as well, so they could
That's what I
absolutely be a
mean.
final.
I
Yeah.
would love to see that. And then they both just give us a fucking banger because we know they both can wrestle. We
I
know they're
mean,
both really good in the ring. And I think that would be an amazing point to just,
yeah,
you know,
no, I agree. But I think also further to your point about there being a lot of people and only the one title, the fact that they've got 12 people in this tournament. Do you know what I mean? 12 women in the tournament. That shows you how much they need an undercard title or
yeah, it
mid
does.
card title or
The
whatever.
only thing that worries me is that they've got Raw and SmackDown there, which tells me there's a
No,
chance. Wait, yeah, Chelsea
this is
Green
all
Smack.
SmackDown.
Oh, is it all SmackDown?
It's all SmackDown. Yeah, yeah, it's all
Oh
SmackDown.
shit.
Yeah,
Oh well,
because
that's
yeah,
perfect then.
yeah, it's all SmackDown. It's because you thought Maxine Dupree was in one. That's what you were saying earlier. Maxine Dupree
Yeah,
Raw, and it's triggered a thing in your brain and stuff.
yeah.
But it's fine.
Oh well, that's amazing because that
Maxine
shows.
Dupree's not in there. We're good.
Yeah, well,
Although I like Maxine.
that shows. how stacked the mid card division can be
just on SmackDown.
just on SmackDown alone. Um,
I
yeah, I
mean,
think I'd love to see Chelsea win it, but I can see Tiffany Stratton winning it, if
so
I'm
I
honest.
think I think the final four are going to be Bailey, Chelsea Green, like you say, Piper Niven, and maybe Naomi.
Yeah.
Although the only thing is, in Piper Niven's bracket also has Jade Cargill and Meacham, and Chelsea Green's Blair Davenport and Bianca Belair. Blair Davenport hasn't done anything in the main roster for a long time because of injuries and stuff and time off, and this could be a way of Blair could be the unknown pick that they go with. You know, sometimes with these things they go, right, you know what? Like the SmackDown Tag Title tournament when they first introduced that and they brought back the Headbangers and
Yeah,
Heath and Rhino won it of all people, and they were like
yeah,
a
yeah.
completely cobbled together tag team. So the WWE has a history of swerving people on their expectations. So, which to be fair is why Chelsea and Piper could absolutely be the finalists. So yeah, but yeah, that was a little aside about the women's US title. And I know obviously we're getting off topic and we haven't even gotten on topic for this week's episode. Um, Before we get into everything, I would like to say thank you to everyone that's liked, subscribed, and all that stuff on YouTube. We've hit really good numbers over the last couple of weeks and had a spike in subscribers, which is awesome. Um, a lot of the recent videos that have come as a result of the last couple of episodes of the podcast are doing better than videos that have been on for years. Um, my favorite is that we have an interview with Mickey James talking about the WWE Royal Rumble appearance that she made, and we've doubled the views of that with us talking about Mickey James in the Royal Rumble.
Just give the people what they want, damn it.
But the fact that there's an actual video short of her talking about it and us talking about it beat those numbers. Um, so yeah, thank you everyone that's doing that, checking us out. We greatly appreciate it, and obviously please continue to do so. Um, so this week's subject, we're going to talk about the United States Championship. We're going to put a spotlight on it because at the moment, I think, especially since the Triple H era begun, as soon as that title went to LA Knight from Logan Paul, LA Knight's been properly boosting that up. He's been treating it as if it's a top tier title, which it should be, and it has been over time. It's just that it gets devalued and stuff. And at the moment, I think the US title with LA Knight being the face of it is probably the biggest it's been, the best it's been presented in years. And
Yes.
and that's not a knock on some of the past champions because a lot of it comes down to booking and or contract stipulations. Like for example, Logan Paul defending it twice a year when he had it and things like that. And Logan Paul was a great name to have the belt because of all of his external stuff. But for the actual title and the prestige of the title and the US and the Intercontinental title for WWF and WCW were always viewed as the work rate titles throughout the 80s and 90s. And when you give it to the US to a part timer that has one of the longest runs in WWE history by default because he's not there, that devalues the title to me. If Logan
Yeah.
Paul had won it and had, let's say, he had three matches, the three or four title defenses that he had in total, if he had all of those back to back on pay per views, that'd be a stellar reign for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's that
Absolutely.
sort of thing. But I do also understand why they'd put the belt on Logan Paul because,
Oh, absolutely. Outside eyes.
yeah,
Mean money, doesn't it? So I
yeah,
complete from a
exactly.
business perspective, it makes sense. Thankfully, with Logan Paul, it had the added bonus of that he is really good
Talented.
and really
Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
entertaining as a WWE character.
Absolutely.
If you don't look at him as Logan Paul, the social media guy who does whatever crime etc., and you look at him as the WWE character Logan Paul,
Oh, he's
he
ridiculously
he
good.
was ridiculously good.
I
It
really
was
want to hate him,
yeah.
but it's like no, the guy's really good, and you can't help but appreciate how good he is.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, um, I do agree that him as champion devalued the title for a while, purely based on uh how little it was defended. A lot of
Yeah.
people jump on Brock Lesnar when he was the world title,
But
and he would
but
defend and
that's
piss
the
off.
same, yeah, and that's the
Uh,
same scenario,
yeah,
and
it is
people
exactly,
jumped
but
on that.
not as many people jumped on Logan, and I think that is down to what he does in the ring. But yeah, it does devalue the title. I think LA Knight as US champion just feels right.
Yes.
And I don't mean that in the case of he's found his level. I mean, there's certain titles that people can hold that doesn't feel like it's right on them, right?
Like if Brock was Intercontinental Champion when it was
For,
the Attitude
yeah,
Era title one, I don't think that would have suited
the
him.
one that comes to my mind is John Cena with the big gold world heavyweight. Never
Yeah,
looked
that
right in
looked
my
weird.
opinion.
Yeah,
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 right. Never looked right. Um, Always looked strange. Same as like Randy Orton with the US title. Looked really weird, in my
yeah.
opinion.
I agree.
Like there's some people you just look and you go, I'm glad you got it, but that you look so weird with that. And LA Knight just fits perfectly with the title. He's also not shying away from defenses or anything, which is perfect. And the US title has had a lot of people who just look
Ruben,
absolutely brilliant. You didn't even mute yourself there, by the way.
the mute didn't work. Oh no.
No, it didn't.
Well, that's a good way of discovering that my mic is knackered. But no, you're absolutely right and stuff. About what I do not know because I couldn't mute my mic. No, yeah, Logan Paul was great, but for the wrong reasons, and
Yeah,
yeah. So the first we'll say about is the WCW era of the US title, which is at that point during the 90s, the WCW US title was viewed as being on a par with the WCW World Heavyweight title at times. They were
yeah,
presenting it on those sorts of things. So one of the guys that I'd like to mention as US champion, and first that was one of my favorite runs from the WCW era, was Bret Hart taking it from Goldberg. With the whole how's he going to beat Goldberg? He's got Goldberg to knock himself out by putting a plate inside
the
his chest.
play on his stomach.
And
Yes,
that feud was great. The fact that it was Bret Hart and Goldberg had already been world champion at that time. Bret had been the man in WWF for years and jumped to there, and that was a true spotlight feud for that title, I think.
absolutely, because it showed that someone like Brett coming in and wanting that title,
Yeah, exactly.
again, it put it on par with the world title. Whereas, with all due respect, if at the time when, say, Goldberg was world champion, if
Yeah,
he jumped ship to WWE and then all of a sudden wanted the Intercontinental,
yeah,
it would have felt a bit weird.
yeah. And like one of the other cool things was the very last ever episode of Nitro. The main event was US champion Booker T versus WCW champion Scott Steiner for
Scott
both
Steiner.
titles. Booker T won that and came into the WWF as the WCW World Heavyweight and US Champion. And Booker T was the fate until Austin jumped to the Alliance side. The whole build up to that was it was Booker T first on his own that was interfering, and Booker T was the face of the WCW invasion until the Austin thing. And yeah, I think him having that title was a huge boost. And gave him a lot of credibility of, well, this guy's got both those belts coming in. Um, the people that held it during the first year of the invasion angle and such as well, like Kurt Angle was one of the ones that held it. Edge, I think Edge was the final person to hold it during that storyline because of the wrestlers that got to keep the jobs if they won the unification matches. I'm sure Edge won. I might be
Yeah.
wrong. Um,
Yeah,
it's like Edge versus Test, wasn't it?
Edge versus Test at Survivor Series 2001,
Yeah,
because it was the whole thing was that whoever kept the titles were guaranteed a job,
yeah.
and then Test entered
Test
himself
lost,
into the
and then he
battle.
threw himself in the battle royal.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would say one of the best eras, obviously before my time. I'm not going to pretend it's not, but the joy of VHSs and everything. I had a lot of WCW VHSs as a child.
Yeah.
Like 91 to 94, I thought like is an amazing time period for a title division. Sting, Luger, Rude, Stunning Steve, Dustin
Yeah,
Rhodes, Gold. No, not Gold. That's before Steamboat.
yeah,
Um, that's an amazing. That's a Hall of Fame level division there.
yeah, yeah,
Um, then I'll jump forward. 98 DDP.
yeah. Booker
Amazing
T
run.
again.
Yeah, Booker T again. Excuse me.
That's right.
Yeah, the US the US has the history cross promotional.
Yeah, and that's one of the
Uh,
few titles that can boast that,
Absolutely, yeah.
and that alone is awesome. That they've gone like when they reintroduced it and they gave it the WWE aesthetic and the WWE US title as it was introduced when Eddie Guerrero won it is my favorite version of that belt.
Yes, me too. That's the version that Danny got actually. Yeah, not even the big new one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Who, in fact, I can tell you who comes to mind for me first when I think of that belt. And this again, eras, you know.
yeah,
For me, it's MVP.
yeah,
MVP had a amazing run with the US title.
yeah, and he made that feel like as important as the WWE or World Championship at that time as well.
Absolutely. Um, it's one that I feel he should have got another run with when he came back,
Yeah,
even if it was just temporary, just as a like throwback to what he had. I think there was a time, I think maybe just before he got that title, or it was maybe just after, where they didn't know what to do with it. And it
yeah,
was thrown on Ken Kennedy for a very brief spell. It was thrown on Finley for a very brief spell.
and Bobby Lashley all in that
Bobby
same.
Lashley for
Yeah,
a quite a brief spell.
it was
Um,
during the King Booker's court sort of time, wasn't it? That it sort of jumped around
yeah,
those guys, and yeah,
yeah. And then when MVP got his hands on it, obviously he had an amazing feud with Chris Benoit.
yeah,
Um, that lasted forever. And then when he got that run, he was the longest reigning US champion for a while,
until Dean Ambrose won it.
which I think shouldn't be counted because he barely defended that fucking thing. People want to
Yeah,
complain about Roman's defenses. Jesus Christ, look at Dean Ambrose's US title run.
yeah, he won that in an era. It was more of an ornament for the Shield them having the tag titles in the US title because their focus on pay-per-views was six-man tags.
Yeah.
And rightfully so because it worked. It was really good. The whole Shield run was awesome and stuff. But
They
his
never did
US
the winner
title,
takes all though.
no, I know. Although
That
they
should be
did, yeah,
yeah, but if a stable, like as a GM, if there's a stable holding tag titles and a singles title who are constantly like going to war in 6-man tags at pay-per-views against like
you'd put
just
them
go
on the
right,
line.
yeah,
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
right, fine, yeah, everything's on the line. Because even if the Shield were going to win, which let's be honest, they were going to
they
win,
did. Yeah, yeah, they
at
won all the
least
way up until the split up.
yeah, at least
I
there
think
was
there was one odd match they lost, wasn't it? Which was Brian
yeah,
Kane
it
and
was
Undertaker, maybe.
Jay Uso was the first person to pin Roman.
Yeah,
And then there was the
and Cody
team
Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes won the tag titles
won the
off
tag
them.
titles. There was a team Hell No and someone else,
I
might have
thought
been
it was Team
Cena or
Hell No, and
something,
I thought it was them and the Undertaker. Because
possibly.
Undertaker's last TV match ever was against Dean Ambrose on the SmackDown, following the Raw where they'd taken on the Shield,
Yeah,
and then
some yeah.
yeah, Taker never wrestled on TV after that point.
Um, yeah, MVP for me. He personified the US title. He
Yeah,
defended it well. Um, he also, as a character, really cared about being the champion.
yeah,
It wasn't about being a champion. He wanted to be the US champion.
yeah.
And I think
And
there's not many others who showed that dedication to the title within their character.
I liked when Cena. I've liked all of Cena's title reigns. To be fair, with the US title, I think Cena is someone that it's weird because obviously 16-time world champion and everything, but you can absolutely picture him as US champion as well because of everything he did with that belt. The open
Yeah,
challenge thing that he did later on in one of his later reigns, But like his first reign, where he turned it to the spinner belt, introduced Carlito and Jesus, who one of them stabbed Cena in a nightclub or something. It was a whole weird thing. But
Jesus stabbed Cena, Cena had a match with Jesus and spent 15 minutes murdering him.
yeah, um, and they had that whole thing there. They had yeah, it was just really good. But Cena, when he got it back, then and they did the after I think he was a 10-time champ at that time, 10-time world champ at the point where he won it back. And then did the Open Challenge, and they brought up all the NXT guys. So he had matches with Sami Zayn, match with Kevin Owens. I think it was Kevin Owens that eventually took it off him.
Yeah.
And
It was because when Kevin first came up, he was the
he was
NXT
NXT champ. Yeah,
He powerbombed Cena.
yeah,
He picked the US title up, dropped it, stamped on it, and raised the NXT title in the
yeah, he did. Yeah, but then it's bizarre because Kevin Owens did that and showed that amount of disrespect to the US Championship. But his last reign with the title, he went full ball Mr. America Kevin Owens. Can you remember
Yeah,
like
he
all his
did.
Titantron at the US colours and stuff, and
The
yeah, and that
KO
was a
had the
great
flag on
feud.
the t-shirt.
Yeah, and that was a great feud at the time. The Chris Jericho Kevin Owens feud. That was the last main Chris Jericho feud in the WWE, I think, if memory serves.
Yeah.
Before he left and stuff, and that's because that was famously Kevin Owens lost the the Universal title to Goldberg at Elimination Chamber, and initially it was supposed to be Owens versus Jericho at Mania for the Universal, and instead Jericho, who was the US champion, had to defend against Kevin Owens and won like that, which surprised her. So Jericho still won their Mania match. That was the blow off. That was seen as a feud ender, and then Owens carried on and won the title shortly after, and had that great run. So yeah,
Yes.
Owens I think was a great champion. Who else has held it? Roman had that really weird reign where he had it
What
and
wasn't
didn't
that
care about
his
having it.
yeah, the one that when he was like just throwing it over the back of his shoulder,
Yeah,
carried it like a rucksack.
and they actually and the first Cena versus Reigns match, they had that brilliant promo beforehand where Cena was like, "Look, you won the US title and viewed it as a demotion, whereas I I won it and used it as a way of getting new guys out. I was exposed to the audience via my open challenge." And you remember he did that whole thing and it was like it was great. So
That was
Cena was
also the
showing
Roman
the
Reigns
pride of
era,
it.
like with the sucker and succotash and all that shit, wasn't
Yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah,
it?
so
Okay,
great that
here's a US title for you.
yeah.
US title question for you. Whose run do you think deserved like so much more of a push?
Uh,
Like somebody you think held the title and maybe they held it for a month or 2 months, whatever the case is, but you think if they'd have really give them, say, 6 months as champion, it could
yeah,
have been a difference maker for that individual.
Finley.
Finley would have been great. I don't think it would have done much more for him as a character.
No, no, but
I
that's his only WWE championship, wasn't it? And it was like he had it like 2 or 3 weeks or something, if memory serves. It wasn't a long.
No, it
Obviously,
wasn't
that
long.
might be an exaggeration. That's just sort of how my brain remembers it from
Yeah, it wasn't
forever
long at
ago.
all.
But
I think it was like 4 weeks max.
yeah,
I would
and that
argue
was when
though,
they were all trying to take it off Lashley.
I'd argue that the stuff Finley did with Hornswoggle
Hmm.
uh, was bigger than any title he could have held.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
I would say Baron Corbin.
yes, because that was just a nothing reign really,
Well, it
and that's
was
sad.
they had him eliminate at the time Braun Strowman, who was like stupidly over in terms of
Yeah.
how they were booking him. They were booking him as like the new level of Big Show, blah blah blah. They had Baron Corbin eliminating from a Rumble.
Hmm.
Then Corbin won
The Andre Battle Royal, didn't
the
he?
Andre Battle Royal. He then won the US title, but then had like next to a nothing run. Same, to be honest, and I know I'm cheating by saying another one here, but Bobby Roode.
Yeah. Bobby really like a month or two, didn't he? I
Bobby,
think that
Ro-
was
they had money when
yeah,
Bobby Roode came up from NXT.
yeah,
They could have done the whole glorious thing, kept going that as US champion, US robes,
yeah,
like
yeah,
be the arrogant it factor kind of champion. They had
yeah.
money there and they chose not to go with it. There's So remember when R-Truth accidentally won it because Shinsuke didn't kick out in time?
Yeah, that was great.
I'm pretty sure he won it in the early, like mid 2000s as well.
Yeah. See, one person I thought was really good with the US title was The Miz.
Miz was amazing as the US
And
champion.
how much did that make Daniel Bryan when Daniel Bryan beat him for it?
Oh, absolutely.
That was a yeah. If you're on the fence about this guy, we know that he's got an indie following and he's very good and everything. But if you're on the fence about him, Miz is going to make him over. And everyone hated the fact that he was paired up with the Miz on NXT. But it was very much a no, just fucking watch, see where they're going with this shit. And it was yes,
Those two have always, like, the whole opposite attracts thing.
yeah,
They had that in terms of chemistry
yeah. They are they've
because
had insane
they,
chemistry.
they are chalk and cheese in terms of, well, in fact, I was going to say in terms of characters, but also how they got in the business is very, very,
Yeah,
very different. You know what I mean? I mean, if you look back at that Talking Smack promo the Miz did,
yeah,
like they're both incredible when they work together. Miz doesn't get enough plaudits in general, to be
no,
honest. And I really hope Miz gets two more IC title reigns before he retires, so we can have
yeah,
that record. Um, but Miz was incredible as US champion, and
yeah. I agree.
what's great is when his first WWE title run. If you look how he holds the title, shows the title off,
Yeah,
you know, does his entrance and talks about the title again. He, you you can look at promos then and when he was US champ, and he's talking about those titles the exact same way.
yeah.
Bec-
And he did that thing of he was what was it 12 years apart between his two world title reigns, his two WWE
yeah,
title reigns, which
yeah,
is
yeah.
amazing. And during that time, he went from WWE champion to 8-time Intercontinental champion, multiple time US champion, multiple time tag champion. Never ever did the Miz look like he was being demoted.
No, not once.
If anything, like the first WWE title reign for the Miz looked like he was overstepping at the time because
There was the
he wasn't quite
there was
ready.
the asterisk that was there. I think it was
Yeah,
less about him not being ready. It was more
I think if
with what was involved with the other people around him, I think was the
yeah,
thing.
yeah, definitely. I think if they'd have given it him a couple of years later, after building him up
Like
with the US title or whatever,
he
brilliant.
successfully defended his WWE title at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
But
but The Rock interfered
that's what I mean.
twice.
Not,
Yeah,
but he's just so unlucky that the whole angle of that was to focus on Cena and Rock. That was going to happen 12 months from now.
yeah.
That
Well,
his world title got, you know,
we're almost out of time. So the very last thing I'll ask you, out of everyone that hasn't held the US title in any era in the company where when it's been present, like if it's WWE or WCW, who would you have put the title on that hasn't had it?
that hasn't had it.
Hmm. I haven't got an
Wow.
answer myself. I just like
Wow.
I'm going to end the podcast with you doing this.
Okay. I'll tell you what, let me give you three generations. Let me give you current, I'll give you attitude, I'll give you ruthless aggression, right?
Yeah, okay.
Attitude era, I would have give it to Val Venus.
Yeah.
I understand what. Well, no, that wasn't an Attitude Era, was there? It would have been WCW's late era.
But then
Okay.
Val Venus was still around when WWF came
Yeah,
in. So
but the
you've got to
title.
give it yeah.
I'll go WCW, who didn't have it, who I think should have had it. David Arquette. Um, why not?
Actually, that would have been better than the WCW title.
Yeah,
So
it really
yeah,
would have. Um,
that would have been the same sort of thing for the boost of it as the Logan Paul. You know, the same sort of argument. Actually,
yeah,
I think Arquette's a good pick.
yeah. Ruthless Aggression, who I don't think held it. I would have given it to. I think I'd have Rhino.
Yeah. Okay.
Rhino, I'd give him a US title run. And
Yeah, because
modern
he was
day
involved in the tournament and
in the
everything. Yeah.
tournament, yeah. And
And
modern
modern
day,
day,
I would give it to, as I would give every other title in the company,
Chelsea
to
Green.
the greatest Mexican import in professional wrestling history, Dirty Dominic Mysterio.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that. That's a really good
Viva la
list.
Dirty Dom.
And that's about all with the time we've got. So thank you very much, Connor. And thank you to everyone that's listening or watching on YouTube. And we'll see you all next week with our subject that we haven't decided yet.
Viva la Dom.